So those of us who haven't been hiding under a rock for the past 6 years know that Ghost is hot property right now in the hard rock and heavy metal department. From their beginnings of taking the heavy metal world by storm with their opening album to where we are today, Ghost has transfixed audiences worldwide, and their albums have made believers out of many. However, for every single girl that calls Papa Daddy and thinks that it's actually true, there are a fair number of detractors that exist. And you'd be surprised what some of those reasons behind them being detractors happen to be. Some may seem obvious, others may seem ridiculous, but here are 5 reasons why people hate Ghost, formerly known here in America as Ghost BC. Number 5, they're a ripoff. Now, far be it from me to examine the days of yore and the bands of the past, such as Merciful Fate and Kiss, and not see a certain amount of similarity between them and Ghost, considering the whole idea of pagentry. However, this right alone is a reason why a lot of people refuse to get into this band, considering its pagentry that feels very much like parody. Yes, there are many people that cite that if they wanted to see this sort of pagentry in music, they would simply watch the bands that they formerly loved, such as Merciful Fate or Kiss, and still love. Maybe even a band such as Gwar, just for good measure. This basically is the out with the old and in with the new attitude in reverse, meaning fuck the new, we only like the old. That, and there's a secondary argument whenever it comes to this, that Ghost sound is actually not all of that original, and that blends in with number 4, so we're going to combine these two. Number 4 is that they're nothing special. Now, this is primarily based off of the music itself, but the look is also one that feels very close to gimmick infringement. There's an extreme metal band out of Australia named Portal that also has a lead singer that wears a mitre and members that you can't see their faces. Their faces are not revealed. It sounds very similar to Ghost's Papa Emeritus idea and the Nameless Ghouls. So what this means is that not only are they supposedly a ripoff of elder generations, the generations of Kiss and Merciful Fate, but they're also a ripoff of a band that came even sooner than this with Portal, which started in the early portion of the 2000s. Far be it from me to really assume what really the process of thought was whenever they came up with the band, but I'm wondering if Ghost was even aware of Portal's presence. And either way, the second real dissuading point for some folks is the fact that they don't find the music to be all of that interesting. They feel that it's just an aesthetic that combines a lot of the elements of Blue Oyster Cult with the sensationalism and the pagentry that you find with these bands, such as Merciful Fate or Kiss or even Portal. And based around that, this is nothing more than just a parody product that everybody's going crazy about, considering it's in the mainstream and it's not something that you traditionally see in the mainstream. So that overall effect of difference is kind of out there. It's kind of unique. In fact, some have even gone so far as to say that this is a direct parody of Slipknot, considering the identities of Slipknot's members were initially not very well known until they became publicized. And of course, all of the members of Ghost, the Nameless Ghouls, and Papa, all are unknown, although there has been some leaked information about one, and that was the fact that Dave Grohl, at one point in time, was a Nameless Ghoul and played a show with the band. Number 3 is the vocals. Now, Papa's vocals and Ghost's music both combined to create a certain aesthetic, a certain sound, and this is one that is very much tapered in the element of the 1970s. It's one that's supposed to have more of that hard rock with a little bit of a prog influence that sort of has a, slight occult spin to it. However, the vocals are not going to be one that's going to persuade each and every person. Papa's higher-pitched voice is not exactly to the same damage of, say, a King Diamond. However, it is one that, since it doesn't have that same element of shock value and surprise to people who hear it for the first time, will just feel a bit middle of the road. Either that, or the fact that it's higher without going to that ridiculous level makes it a bit annoying. Basically, you could couple this idea also with numbers 4 and 5, that they're simply parody that can't fully commit to going that high. Some folks will also say that his range is unimpressive and that it's not something that brings an overall charm to the music itself. Personally speaking, I think that Papa's voice dances around with the melodies, and that's something that actually causes the near carnival-esque effect of a lot of Ghost's music, but that's just my opinion. Many folks will stay away from this band the minute that they hit the vocals, even though, whenever they listen to the music, they actually like what they hear. Number 2, their stage gear. We already mentioned this in number 4 and 5. As you can see, there's quite a bit of a link here. In reality, most of the reasons why people hate Ghost have everything to do with what the band is or represents, rather than having some sort of absurd conspiracy theory, which is kind of nice, but probably also representative to the fact that Ghost is a newer band. However, the stage gear, aside from being parody of Portal, supposedly, is also seen as hokey, it's seen as ridiculous. There have been many folks that have gone to shows, have seen this getup, and have decided just to stand up and leave. And there are definitely folks that are out there that are more than willing to display this idea online or within their own personal opinion. It's even been said that Kerry King himself thinks that Ghost is a terrible band, and I'm pretty sure that Ghost responded by saying that Slayer sucked too. Something of that variety. However, their stage gear is one part that is very unique about this group. Imagine Gwar without their getup, either that, or imagine Merciful Fate coming out, without makeup, or Kiss Kiss did do that. It was the 1980s, and even though people say that era was good, people are really dumb sometimes. Number 1, and the biggest reason people hate Ghost is the stupidest reason of them all, is the fact that they're not metal. In fact, there was a petition 2 years ago in 2014 where somebody actually tried to get enough signatures to request formally that Ghost stop making music because they're not metal. If you think anybody's going to listen to that, if you want Ghost shit, it's just going to be, no, this is Hot Topic poser bullshit, blah, 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 blah. When did Ghost actually announce that they were a metal band, first of all, and secondly, why the fuck do we really care? Understandably, we just did a video that was entitled Is It Metal or Is It Rock? It was part 2, where it seems like there is a big discrepancy between what goes into a rock section or a metal section at a music store. And it also seems to be that people are very die-hard about where their band should be, that classification, that metal classification, is almost like some sort of God's gift, and something that actually proves a lot of validity. It's one that seems to cleanse argument that a band truly isn't all of that bad as people believe them to be. In reality, it's all just opinion. Personally speaking, Ghost not being a metal band doesn't chafe me at all, considering these guys are meant more to be an occult rock or an occult metal band, one that has a bit more of an old school aesthetic to it. So those that say that these guys channel in the 1970s with a Blue Oyster Cult vibe, they're not totally wrong, and in fact, that's part of Ghost's charm. They're a modern take on something that we haven't heard for a while. There's always bands that are attempting to do the same aesthetic, but are you going to, give grief to a band such as Graveyard, or to a band such as Hex Vessel that's trying to put a more bulky edge on the side of metal? Do those bands necessarily sound all of that metal? Maybe not, and honestly, they're sometimes classified within that subgenre more often than not, so why not Ghost? It's really one of those inclusion-exclusion arguments. But based off of that petition, and based off a lot of people just simply not liking this band's sound and feeling that it's not metal, that they don't belong on heavy metal builds, that it's something that completely ruins the overall aesthetic to a bill, they say that it's not metal. They don't want to listen to it because it's not metal. It's the argument that's ageless, the one where only metal fans want to listen to nothing but metal music, which is completely and totally untrue, by the way. However, some people really like to grant everybody that notion that it is. Overall, Ghost is a group that just needs to be, sort of understood in small doses. Not to mention also a group that if you dislike them, that's fine, but dislike the music because it's not that good in your opinion. Don't dislike them just because you think that it's not metal enough for your little metal club. Metal, metal, metal. Well, there you have it. 5 reasons why people hate the Papa and the Nameless Ghouls of Ghost. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. 2016 edition. Man, oh man, that shit was hard back in the day. That shit would be even harder now, considering I'm fairly certain if they made that game, Papa would have special powers. Did we miss any reasons why people hate this band? Why people think that Ghost isn't all that in a bag of Cheetos and a bag of hot fries here in 2016? Let us know in the comments below. My name is coverkillernation, and quite frankly, I feel like fucking garbage today, but I'm here. Support my cause of feeling not like garbage by tapping that subscribe button or giving me some likes to improve my spirits and my heart. Or don't, I don't care. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.